What's up? It's Ben from WODprep, and in this video, I am going to cover a step-by-step progression to help you learn wall walks. Wall walks is a new-ish movement that's popped up into the CrossFit scene over the last few years. And if you don't have wall walks in your toolkit of movements that you can do as RX'd, then you're going to be left scaling a lot of workouts or struggling in misery during workouts, and especially the CrossFit Open. So in this video, I have a simple 5-step progression that's going to help you no matter where you are along your wall walk journey. Hopefully it's going to unlock the next step so that you eventually can do multiple unbroken wall walks efficiently and smoothly in the middle of the workout. And if you stick around to the end of this video, I actually have a free wall walk guide that I put together for you, and you can get that completely free. Stick around to the end and I'll show you where you can get that. And oh, by the way, if you haven't yet, please smash the subscribe button for the WODprep YouTube channel. It's gonna make my puppies and me really happy. So step number one when it comes to wall walks is when we're laying on the ground in the starting position, which means feet on the wall, hands on the line, if you have the lines on the ground, or just hands kind of right by your shoulders, the first thing that we need to do is to get into a downward dog position. I oftentimes see athletes miss this starting position, but the most efficient way to get into the wall walk is by doing this. So I'm on the ground, my feet are against the wall, and then all I'm going to do is press myself up onto my knees and then lift my knees off the ground. So this is what some of you might recognize as the downward dog position. Then from here, the next step, and one of the harder steps, is to get both of our feet off the ground. So you're going to notice that I'm taking my right foot and my left foot and getting them off the ground. Then and only then am I allowed to start moving my hands past the line. I find that a lot of athletes will actually start moving their hands too early. Their feet will still be on the ground and they'll actually start walking their hands back towards the wall. That's technically a no rep. Both of our feet need to get off the ground. So especially when I'm really tired and I'm in the middle of the workout, I really focus on downward dog and then getting both feet off the ground. Once both feet are off the ground, then I try to straighten my legs. So you'll notice that when my feet are first getting off the ground, I have lots of bend in the knees, and it's actually a pretty awkward position. I think it's easiest for you to relieve that awkward position by immediately trying to get your legs straight. And then once you have your legs straight, that's when it's time to finally start moving your hands. So let me show you. Let's walk through it again. So step one, on the ground in this nice sleeping on the ground position. And then the first thing I do is downward dog. Second thing I do is get both feet off the ground. It could just be a baby step, especially if you're not very comfortable with being upside down. It could literally just be like a couple inches, or for me, I just kind of take it that high. And then from here, my goal is to drive my head through as my legs straighten out. And then now that I have relatively straight legs, I start walking my hands to the wall. So as I straighten my legs out, simultaneously, I start pressing and walking my head and torso back towards the wall. So this is when you actually start to see the walk happen with your hands. Now here's where I think a lot of beginners can do a great job of adding in progressions. So you might notice that I actually have some lines on the ground, and I haven't talked about those yet. So the standard for a wall walk normally is the line is about where your shoulders are, and then, or that's where the starting line is, and then the finish line, where basically the rep is halfway complete, is pretty much right next to the wall. And I'm not going to mention the specific standards because they might change, but you have a line or some measurement where your hands are close enough to the wall for it to count. And then in order for you to complete the rep, you have to get your hands back to the original line before your feet touch the ground. So your hands start on the line, you'll walk your hands all the way to the wall or the line next to the wall, and then you walk your hands back out to the original starting line before your feet touch the ground. So what I'm suggesting in terms of a progression for all the beginners out there is to make a series of lines, and you can label them level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, through infinity all the way until the RX line. And your goal is to become proficient at getting to a line and back, even if that line isn't very far. So let me show you what I mean. If I was a brand new wall walker, what I would do is maybe start my hands at this initial starting line, and then from here I'm gonna get my downward dog, I'm gonna get both feet off the ground, and then my goal might just be to get to this first line. So I get my hand past the first line, and then I can technically walk back down. That'd be a great level 1 progression of a wall walk. And then if I wanted to make things a little bit more difficult, let's just say hypothetically, I get proficient at this line. Now let's move to this one. Same thing, downward dog, both feet off the ground. I would actually try to probably straighten my legs out a little bit more, maybe a couple steps to get both hands past that second line or third line. And then I'm gonna walk my hands back to the original starting position. So what we're doing here, just like you've noticed for most of the movements that I teach progressions for, is we're trying to take this big movement, which is a full wall walk, and I break it into its individual pieces, and then I find a way to scale it infinitely. So rather than just saying you either can or cannot do a wall walk, you might be able to do a half wall walk, or 25% of a wall walk, or in this case for this line, it would be like a 75% wall walk. So let me show you what that one might look like. And this is this would be like a great modification for people who just for whatever reason can't quite get their hands all the way to the wall. That's fine. Taking a target, obviously I could have lines here and here, but making your target increasingly closer and closer to the wall. It's similar to when we're doing box jump progressions and we slowly but surely make the box higher and higher. That's the same thing here. I'm moving my goal target and I'm giving myself a standard that I can shoot for every single rep of the workout. So if I was in the middle of a Metcon, rather than just kind of estimating halfway, doing like a half wall walk, instead now I have actually a standard that I can measure myself to, and that's gonna help keep you consistent, and it's gonna help you eventually work your way to doing a fully RX'd wall walk. So let me demonstrate the 3/4 wall walk maybe. So same thing, downward dog, both feet off the ground. I'm gonna straighten my legs, that's the next step for me. And then as I'm doing that, I'm walking back, and then maybe I get my hands to approximately where that line is. And then from here, I'm gonna walk my hands all the way back and then splat to the ground. We can take this progression and make it as easy or as hard as we want. You'll notice that the scale division of the CrossFit Open tends to just have the standard of you get your hands over the line and back. That's a great introduction to the wall walk, but then we can add so many more layers and levels before we actually get to a fully RX wall walk. So far, we've gone over 3 different steps and we've talked a lot about how to modify the wall walk for your skill level. So now let's actually talk about the full wall walk. Assuming we are proficient at getting our hands to maybe 75% of the way there, now let's really focus on getting the full wall walk. So as I'm walking my hands to the wall, all I'm thinking about, the only thing I'm thinking about is driving my head and chest into the wall. And then obviously my goal is to get my hands to the target. A lot of times what I see is that people they'll get their hands all the way to the target, but for whatever reason, their head still isn't in a very good position, or maybe they overextend their head and chest and their hands don't even come close to the line. It's really, really important for you to realize that you don't want to spend very much time in the totally vertical position. That's the hardest position of the wall walk, in my opinion. What we want to do is get ourselves as close to the line and just touch the line and get back down. So it looks like this. Again, let's go through the progression. Downward dog, feet up, feet straight, walk, 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 walk. I'm driving my head through. I touch, touch. And now my goal is to walk back down and then splat. That brings me to the final part of the progression. So once we've driven our head and shoulders into the wall, we get that simultaneous touch. Immediately, as soon as my hands touch, my goal is to get out of that vertical position and get myself back down to the ground. The way that I do that is I essentially run my hands forward, get them to the target line. So I'm getting them to that starting line. And then as soon as my hands are there, I let my feet splat to the floor. We don't want to spend any extra time inverted on the wall than we need to. It's going to cause you to get exhausted. So you'll see what I do is when I do one more demonstration here, I'm going to get all the way up. And then my goal is to just kind of run my hands forward with control, but without too much control. We don't want to waste a bunch of energy. I get my hands to the starting line, and then as soon as my hands are on that starting line, I take my feet off the wall, and I just let them splat down to the ground. So let me show you what that looks like put all together again. So I'm starting on the ground, downward dog, feet off the ground, feet straight as I'm walking myself towards the wall. I touch both hands, and then I waste no time. Once my hands are here, splat to the ground. So once your hands get back to that starting position, I give you permission to just let those feet drop. There's no rule against it. You just have to make sure your hands get back to that starting line. So with that being said, I hope that you've learned a few useful skills and progressions and tips to help you take where your wall walk is and finally be able to do an efficient wall walk repeatedly time and time again. If you like this video and you want more wall walk tips, I have a completely free guide. All you have to do is go to WODprep.com/wallwalks. The link to that is in the description and it's in the top comment below. Also, if you don't mind, please leave a comment below and let me know what's one missing piece of your wall walk. What's one thing that you're like, ooh, I need to improve that piece. Let me know in the comments below. Other people will be able to learn from you, and maybe I can make additional videos to help you get better at your wall walks. Of course, if you haven't yet, smash the subscribe button, thumbs up if you like the video, thumbs down if you didn't. And if you want everything that WODprep has to offer, if you want all of my best tips and tricks to help you learn all of the skills that come inside of a CrossFit gym, then just go join WODprep Academy. It's the best deal that we have. It's all of my best training material and training courses combined together into one place for one low annual cost. I'm gonna link that below, or you can go to wodprep.com/wodprep-academy and check it out for yourself. It's a great deal. I'll see you in the next video.
My shoulders are just huge, man. My traps too. Have you seen my lat spread? I can't. Bro, this is, I built myself to look like this. I can't put them down. You try it, try putting them down. They'll just pop right back up. Can't help, bro, can't help.